The difference between 6 and 7 figures is intention. Is that you most likely, while doing 6 figures, are wearing all the hats. I would say now that as I'm thinking about it more, that when we were doing 6 figures, it kind of was just like, it just happened. Like every day that we show up and we got a few extra phone calls that we weren't really paying for. It was just people that like, hey, I just kind of heard you guys are new. And it just kind of came with the territory of having a good brand, being associated with Green Mango, but it just kind of happened unintentionally. We would just show up, and now as I look at the math, it's like, man, to do 6 figures in your business is just $400 in revenue a day.
Welcome to the Premium Mindset, the weekly podcast where homegrown entrepreneurs and business owners, Evan Ritchey and Cameron Bawden, share the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern entrepreneurship and reveal what really happens behind the scenes of their personal and professional lives. As owners of 2 of America's fastest growing and most disruptive companies, Coconut Cleaning and Green Mango Pest Control, stay tuned for real stories, struggles, insight, and advice from real entrepreneurs in real time.
Evan, listen. At Jason Payne's event that you missed for a wedding you shouldn't have gone to, you weren't even invited to it, but you missed this event where there was literally 200, small business owners. You know what the number one question was when we were on the panel?
Number one question, how do I grow from 6 to 7 figures?
Stop. Why you take my thunder like that?
Is that what it is? Yes. Is that what it is?
No, seriously, everyone's wondering how to take that next step. How do I go from a 6-figure to a 7-figure? How do I go from 7-figure to 8-figure? And it was really cool to see because there's so many people out there that just want to learn, that they're thirsty for knowledge, and they want mentors in their life. And so it was really cool. So if you were there and not on vacation, right? I take 1 vacation a year. Give it to me.
1 vacation every 7 years.
7 years. No, I'm glad. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Good, man. But if someone asks you, like, how do I go from 6 figures to 7 figures? What would be your answer?
So my answer is a question that I don't know if you learned it from Mark or if you just started asking, but anytime,
probably thought of it myself.
Yeah, just help Jen. My answer would be, why do you want to go to 7 figures?
Dang.
So 9 times in 10, I'm sure it has to do with like the amount of money they're receiving in passive income. Mm-hmm. But I believe wholeheartedly after 7 years of like being in the Hype Farm infrastructure, and you've been the best teacher of this now, is that if you don't nail it before you scale it, like it doesn't matter whether you do 6 or 7 or 8 figures, your margins are going to stay same congruent. If you can't be a 35% margin 6-figure company, you're not going to be a 35% margin.
You think they need to be as high as 35%?
At 6 figures, I would say this. If you didn't put money into growth, what would your margins be? Right. Because if there comes a point when you are at 7 figures and you want to draw back on scaling, and you can kind of proportionally take away the amount you would have to put in to continue to grow, what do your margins reflect? Because there's no way that you're just going to go 6 figures and have no margins and then somehow be at 7 figures and not have any margins. So my answer is, why do you want to go to 7 figures? But I believe now more than ever, to go from 6 to 7 figures, it all stems back to a couple things. First one being the reputation of the brand. I think a lot of people can get started, but I think the brand reputation is what carries you into 7 figures through like a ripple effect of referrals, word of mouth, being able to have that recognition as you put more money into some marketing silos, and people are like, okay, well, I see their trucks. I've seen some technicians. I saw them on Instagram. Now I'm seeing them on a billboard. And I think that when you start pouring money into a few different silos of marketing and people start putting all the pieces together that this is a reputable company, I think naturally, organically, not even organic because you are putting money into marketing, but you just start to get into that 7-figure range as people start connecting the dots from the immediate call to action plays to the bigger exposure plays that
Yeah.
you tap into a demographic of your market that allows you to kind of scale into that 7-figure, not whether you like it or not, but it just kind of happens.
So what I see is I just came from a lunch meeting with some guys, great guys.
Hold on,
They
what'd you
just
say at
started. What?
What'd you say at the event?
I
Sure, it was
don't
profound.
remember, but no, I've thought a lot. I think in order to go from 6 to 7 and 7 to 8, and I'm sure from 8 to 9, it's just a different level of commitment. So what I see the most, if a company's doing 6 figures, is that they're not working as hard as they should, and they know it. And, you know, I had a really good conversation with this group that I was just with, right? They're doing $250,000 a year. And I was like, tell me how many technicians you guys have. Like, tell me about your office staff and all the back end, right? They have like 15 technicians. They are about to hire someone else in the office. I'm like, hey, what do you guys do all day? Like, what are you doing to grow the business? Because that's our thing. How do we go from 6 figures to 7 figures this year? And I said, well, where are you spending your time? Oh, during the day. And I'm not trying to rag on these guys, but this is like, anytime I talk to a 6-figure company, it's pretty much the same answer. It's just fresh in my mind because I just literally got done with them. But it's like, we're checking emails and we're meeting with people. I'm like, well, what are you doing for the other 10 hours a day? You know? And that's the mistake, is that one, they don't know. And most people, again, don't know where they want to go. So why 6 to 7? So I agree with you 100% on there. And then it's a different level of commitment. They're just wanting to hire people and then kind of sit back, and they go through these phases of maybe working hard for, you know, a certain period of time. And then they're pulling back and checking emails and doing busy work. That's the problem. Is like, in order to get to 8 figures, you always have to check yourself and be asking, am I doing busy work or am I growing the company? Because if you're doing busy work, you're never gonna get to 7, and you'll for sure never get to 8.
As you were talking, in our little podcast room, there's a glass garage door that I'm looking through, and on the wall it says to earn $250,000 a year, which is the equivalent, you would need to earn $1,000 a day on 252 working days.
It's pretty easy.
This is, I was gonna say,
As
this
a
isn't a
business.
demeaning thing, but to like think of doing $250,000 is $1,000 in production a day. I don't know how you have any more than 2 employees or like 1 employee.
Well, that's why we don't need to go down, but that's the thing, right? Like, so entrepreneurs either make the mistake where they stay on the truck too long, and so they're stuck as a technician, and then they'll never grow. Or they'll hire that technician and then they don't go grow the business because they'll just sit back and be like, oh, I don't have to go do the job today, and I'll just be busy. Well, being busy is never going to get you there. And that's the answer now that I'm talking about, is like that I gave, is entrepreneurs that find the 7 and 8 figure businesses, when they run into a roadblock, they find a detour. The ones that don't, it's there. You know, I talked to another guy. Oh, it's so hard for me to train technicians. You know, our technicians are so much harder to train than your pest guys. Sure, but you know, this company did it. Why can't you? You guys got to find the detours, because you will have roadblocks. You will have that thing that's like stops you in the road, and the ones that are successful and make it are the ones that find a way around it. Period.
I have a new answer.
You can't change it now.
Okay. The difference between 6 and 7 figures is intention. Is that you most likely, while doing 6 figures, are wearing all the hats. And so today you said, hey, are you doing intermittent fasting? I said, like, not technically, but like I'm naturally. You're like, Evan, you have to be intentional. So I would say now that as I'm thinking about it more, that when we were doing 6 figures, it kind of was just like, it just happened. Like every day that we show up, and we got a few extra phone calls that we weren't really paying for. It was just people that like, hey, I just kind of heard you guys are new. And it just kind of came with the territory of having a good brand, being associated with Green Mango, but it just kind of happened unintentionally. We would just show up, and now as I look at the math, it's like, man, to do 6 figures in your business is just $400 in revenue a day.
$4,000.
No, $400. And to do 6 figures in your business on the
6
year.
figures.
Yeah.
I thought you meant 7. 7 is $4,000, right?
Yes. No, $4,000 a day is $1 million a year.
Yeah. So
Okay.
7.
Yeah.
So so I'll teach you a little math really quick. So you'll have 6, zeros, right? 3 zeros, a comma, and then 3 more zeros. And then when you add another number to that, if you add them all up, it goes to 7. And so now it's a 7-figure business. You understand? And then here's the cool thing. You add one more to that, it becomes 8.
Back to my answer of
Okay,
intention.
got it.
Thanks for the mathematical response.
No, some people don't get it. So I thought I'd help you.
No. Okay. But like that's when the number is set, it's almost so hard to compute. Just doing $400 in revenue per day on a 252 day working year is $100,000. Like that can almost happen by accident as a business. Okay. Where it starts getting into the 7-figure range is you start one as a leader, you're wearing most of the hats. And I think that you're a little bit more, you're pushing everything through yourself. Even if you have employees, you're kind of telling them what to do, how to do it, how to think. And then I think once you have, I think we should also mention that it was so important for Coconut when we started, and all the businesses that you started, it was all subscription based. Yeah. So I think that that's a very important highlight for people to understand as far as what can give them a higher probability of getting to, one, more steady income, but 2, getting into that 7-figure range, is that you guys always wanted to make sure that even if it was an industry like carpet cleaning that didn't have subscriptions,
We found a way.
correct. And so
You don't have to eat what you kill every single month.
Yes.
There's a little bit of safety blanket there working towards it.
yes, like at Coconut, for us to go into every new month knowing that at some given business day there's going to be almost $100,000 billed in reoccurring revenue.
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer. And so, if you have any questions about that, we can always answer those at another time. But I think that's a very important principle, is to do a business or find a way in your business to set up reoccurring revenue.
So 6 to 7 is 6 is just, that should happen. If you can't accomplish that by yourself, one-man truck, you probably shouldn't perform that service for the consumer, right? 6 to 7 is being intentional and working. I mean, that's it, being intentional. 7 to 8, that's where Coconut is right now.
Yeah, I was going to
$7 million
take
bucks.
a back seat and.
Well, no. Like, I want you to talk about, as I look at Coconut getting to a 7, right? There's 6 numbers, then you add the 1, it's now 7. You got it? It's just getting better at the sources that you're performing on. So if you have 6 or 7 different sources, trucks, influencers, Google, Meta, collaborations with other companies, it's like, how do we get intentional about just getting 10% better in each of those areas? I think that's what gets you to past that $10 million mark.
Yeah. So that's why I joked that I was going to take a back seat, because Coconut's hovering, on any given month where we're overperforming between $5 and $7 million as far as like projection
On the year.
Yeah. And so for me, when I'm constantly beating my head up against the wall saying, man, I'm going to be patient and say, if I can't have profits close to $1 million to $1.5 million off $5 to $6 million, why do I want to get a 10 other than just saying it's doing 8 figures, right?
Yeah.
So I will say that I'm trying to apply what I'm also teaching, which is if I can't make or have certain margins at $5, $6, $7, $8 million, I don't want to get
Which
to
goes
10.
back to your original question, is what's your end goal? And that's what I ask these guys, we want to be the biggest. Why? What is that? And I hate when people would ask me that. It's because I want to be the biggest. No. If your goal is to make $300,000 a year, you can accomplish that probably doing 6 figures. You really can. And you're going to live a much better life without a lot of stress, dealing with a lot of people. And that's cool. But if you're wanting to be an 8-figure, you got to buckle up. It's going to be a ride.
Do you remember, was there a specific point do you try to remember, what was the year that you hit 8 figures? 2019?
I don't know, man.
I feel it was like a bell curve for you guys. You guys were just boom, 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 and then all of a sudden, because I was going to ask, do you remember a specific formula of?
It's probably 16 or 17.
2016, 2017.
I don't know.
So that's 6-7 years in the business. You guys are perfecting the model. You're delivering value. Kind of, and I would interject and say that you have to consistently be delivering the best service. And then not only that, I genuinely don't want more headache of scaling and having 50 more positions for a $10 million company unless the earnings is congruent to what I get to deal with in entrepreneurship. So I've seen too many people like in talking scale too fast, and they have 15 people doing 500,000, 20 people doing 500,000. I'm like, man, Coconut, we found a way to go to 60 doing 5 million. And then the next year down to 40 doing 5.5. Right. And that to me is like, that's winning. Is how can I find a way, like 60 people were barely surviving. And now we found a way to go down to 35, 40 employees where 10 to 15 are really winning, doing 6 figures, because we've been able to reduce the amount of people getting that 5 million and increase our margins and somehow simultaneously increase productivity, because we're saying, hey, look, we have a lot of people doing a lot of work or a little amount of work. We could go down in size and have a less amount of people doing a lot more work for a lot more pay. And everybody voted like,
right.
And then I'm like, well, you're one of the people to go. So no, I'm just kidding. But I will say, yeah, I will say that is that between 7 and 8, nail, like really, really nail it. And then I would say, and I can't like be specific or too specific because I don't know, but I feel like you finally position yourself to pay for more expensive silos of marketing like radio, because 3 years prior, 2013,
you're gonna have to have some kind of breakout,
okay,
right? From till you go from 6 or from 7 to 8. Like it's gonna be something for you guys. A lot of it was influencers.
Yeah,
you know, that was like our big breakout. You're gonna have to have some kind of breakthrough, and a lot of that is trying new. You're always testing new avenues to see, hey, what's working. And when it works, like you go all in on it, and you got to find that thing that fits to your business. You know, radio was one of them for us. Customer referrals was always one. So every time we brought on a new customer, you know, they would almost refer us another one. And that was our breakout, because we stayed consistent to our service. And that's what you're talking, that's what you said. And so stay consistent, try new avenues of marketing. Once you find one, go all in on it, and you got to have that breakthrough. And then from 8 to 9, which is where, you know, I'm trying to get to, right, is like, it's you having the capital to do it. So I feel like I'm back where I'm at right now, like the years 0 through 6, no money, investing everything back into the company, hiring managers, hiring all these people and saying, hey, I'll pay you, I'm not paying myself. I feel like it's almost like now I'm from where I'm at going from 8 to 9 is that maybe I take a back, you know, maybe I back down my salary. I've raised it up so much that it's like, oh, I don't need that much money to live. Whereas I could have 2 or 3 other people in this department. It's going to help me 2x the growth, or it's going to help me in this avenue get 10% better, or even 2% better in every department. Makes a lot of money. And I think that's the sacrifice, or going to raise capital, right? And going acquiring companies, or going to try even more, like doubling down even more on broader marketplaces, or even tripling. Like if we're spending, you know, 500 grand on the radio, it maybe spending 1.5 on the radio and going to different areas. Or if we do 10,000 flyers a month, now we're doing 50,000 flyers, or whatever it might be, but it's doubling down on everything that you know. So 0 to 6 is just being intentional and wanting it, not being lazy. 6 to 7 is basically finding, like, you got to find a breakthrough. And then 7 to 8 is like you're performing on all levels. And then 8 to 9 is maximizing everything you got.
I would also to highlight that something that we haven't said that is so important, that I've been fascinated with, primarily on the Green Mango side, because you've deployed a lot of resources to know these, but you have to know your numbers, because now you can look at me and so nonchalantly tell me the exact amount of customers you would need to accomplish what you're saying. And so it's a formulation of, you look at historical data, the amount that historically you pay for to get that customer. So if you have a $200 customer acquisition cost, and you know that on average, every account that you get moving forward is going to be, $800, $900, $1,000 contract value. You can literally just look at us in a meeting and say, guys, we need this amount of customers to do this. And you can only do that because of the months and years that you've put into a finance team looking into, one, historical data, and then two, projecting what exactly you need for the specific amount of growth. And so I'd say at any level, 0 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, know your numbers so that you can essentially reverse engineer. And then when you do test out new silos of marketing, you can quickly pull out, because you can say, I'm spending too much to get whatever's coming from that source. It doesn't fit in parameters of what we need.
I think 6 to 7 is just hard work, and you can push through and make dumb decisions because you don't have much money to probably spend, and so you're just gonna work hard, and working hard can get you through it. Yeah. But once you hit 7, I think you should invest in a team to give you at least high level numbers. And once you're mid 7s, which is where Coconut is, think of the value that you've had from having our accounting team, right? Because it's a shared resource to be able to go in and say, hey, we have a fixed cost problem. If you guys ever want to make money at this company, you got to change the pay scale. Hey, what if you did this? And that's all from having a strong accounting team. So like you're saying, man, when you're in that 7 figures, early 7s, mid 7s, you need to start paying money to find someone that can give you your numbers exactly, because you'll never get to 8 unless, you got to find that one breakthrough, but you got to know your numbers. Hey, can I pay $500 for a customer in this source until it works, or at least testing it that way? And how long can I test it for before I pull it back? Because a lot of people, they give up. So many times, I think people do a lot of billboards because they see our billboards, right? I'll see it go up for 2 months or 3 months, and then it's gone. And I'm like, sorry, sucker, just wasted 30 grand, man. It's you got to give it time. You got to give things time.
Yeah. And one thing that you've been saying that I've also seen kind of tried and true is that as you're scaling and as you're learning your numbers, is having the appropriate KPIs associated with the numbers, where people have their individual targets to accomplish those goals. Because if you know your numbers, how many times have you met with a small business owner and you say, hey man, what's your acquisition cost? They're like, huh?
Right. Or,
hey, what's your EBITDA?
But do you expect them to know that at 6 and 7 figures?
I would say the
6
only
figures I don't, but early 7s. I mean, if you can,
yeah.
In 6, obviously it's best, but good, better, and best, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like you don't really have the money until you hit that $1 million mark,
right.
And even then, it's kind of rough.
Right. And to me, I don't know at what point I accumulated a lot of the information that serves me now. So I don't look at anybody and say what are you doing? You don't know this stuff. It's more oh man, I'm so excited for you because you learn these few principles.
It comes full circle. What's your intention? What is it? Where are you wanting to go? So if you want to make 2 million, how many jobs is that? And that's the question that most, they're just going through the motions. They're just waking up. And so if you're not intentional, and that's why I told you on your fashions, dude, if you want to lose 20 pounds, you have to be intentional. You can't just wake up and be I'm going to try and eat healthier. Well, you get a lunch meeting and you go to today, it almost happened. I'm trying to eat really strict right now. We go to lunch and I almost, sacrificed getting something else. And then I saw salmon at the bottom. It's I would have never scheduled, I shouldn't be scheduling lunch appointments. Or if I do, I know exactly where I'm going, that I can order something that fits my diet right now.
Yeah. It's yeah.
And that's being intentional. That's knowing your numbers. Hey, I want to do 7 figures. How many jobs is that? What does that look like? How many jobs is that broken down to a day?
And then on top of that, knowing your numbers and knowing the direction that you want to go. I saw an analogy of a guy on stage. He's like, man, have you ever walked up to somebody and said, hey, let's go? And they said, where? And you said, come on, let's go. And they said, where are we going? Yeah. I said, it sounds stupid, right? But leaders do that with their businesses all day, every day. And they're saying, hey, work harder. For what?
Where are we going?
What's happening? What's going? Hey, Cameron, why are you having all these meetings? Why are you investing in all this different stuff? What's going on? But you've been in front of everyone saying, guys, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to get to $50 million just in the near future. Here's what that means. There's going to be probably 5 to 10 more field manager positions open,
Right.
more executive levels positioned open, more
job security.
More job security. And now they're like, oh, so when Joe comes down and they have their manager and the leaders are leading decentralized command and saying, all right, guys, we know what we want to do. So the reason we're getting a little bit more efficient with truck inspections or the amount of chemical that goes out on the trucks is like every little chemical matters at that scale, and every little tool and every little thing that we use matters when you know it is where you're going. And you can't know where you're going if you don't know what you've done in the past and where you've been. And all those things are defined by one, numbers, and then reverse engineering. Okay, we needed this many people to help get us here. We're going to need this many people to get us to the next spot. Also, what technology is out there to help us innovate a little bit faster? We'll talk another time on like just having online scheduling and things like that, but there's just so many softwares and so many technologies available to help a company grow while you can be sleeping. A customer can be up at 2 a.m., swipe up on your ad, and you can get customers while you're sleeping just with technology that's out there.
No, it's just so it's so painful, but everyone's got to go through. And this is why I know I'm going to have a hard time when Banks comes to me and be like, Dad, what do I do for a career? And it's going to be like, man, you're about to get knocked in the mouth multiple times. Yeah. And I'm scared for him.
Say, why do you want a career?
I'm like, please don't, man. But, dude, if you're starting a company, chances are you don't have any money, or you might have $2,000 to $3,000. And it's like, man, you just got to go. You just got to show up. And what I told these guys today is they had $2,000 for marketing. I don't know if they have any savings. I didn't ask them, but it doesn't matter. And I said, hey, you need to go be the technician right now. You need to go to the customer, and you need to have the best customer experience you could have. And then you need to get a referral from that customer, and you need to grow your business that way. And then as you stack cash, you shouldn't take it and go buy a new car, go on vacation. It's like, take the bare minimum. Do not try and be rich. Do not try and look good. You need to go there. And then as soon as you can hire a technician, because you have that revenue there, and you can produce, almost 2 times what it costs you to hire that tech, then go move away and go do other things that can create sales. But you just got to start somewhere. And the easiest way to grow your business, and what's funny is it's full circle now. And I gave this training a couple of weeks ago. I said, hey, we started by growing this company, Green Mango, from 1 truck to 150 today, is that we started with customer referrals. That's what got us through, 2010. That's what's going to get us through, not through, but that's what's going to lead us. That's what always has led us. So make the customer experience the best it can be, and they'll refer us. They want to refer a good company. I saw a technician, walking out of my, the warehouse the other day. It's like his outfit was so bad. I'm like, I'm going to go crazy. I sent Joe a picture. I'm like, please get this guy a new uniform. You have to be intentional. Every little thing matters. Have the best customer experience from day one, and you'll grow your business, period.
I want to give a small shout out to coconut cleaning. We don't talk about coconut enough, okay? I read an article that's going to serve what I'm about to say, of course.
You wrote an article?
No, I should have wrote it because I would have increased the numbers. But this article said...
You read an article?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I read an article that said the percentage was somewhere between 75 and 86%. That when you buy into a franchise, you are 75 or 80 to 86% more likely to hit $1 million in revenue ever of doing your business. And when I read that, and then I paired that with another article that this is from Layla Hormozi, where she said that 6% of businesses in all of conception will ever hit $1 million in revenue. We had 3 of our 4 franchises hit $600,000 to $1 million in their first year of running. And the reason that it's a proud dad moment there is that it's a moment of proved concept, because sometimes you're like, man, I don't know if this is just luck, if this is just because I was able to use Green Mango, I don't know what it was. But then all of a sudden, these guys go out to different cities where different states where Green Mango doesn't exist. John Jay and Rich don't exist. No history of these matte vehicles anywhere, and just show up and arrive and then just crush it. And so it's proof that to go from 0 to 6, it's relative as far as like how fast you want to go, depending on the vehicle that you're using to get there. And so if you're starting your own business out of, thin air and it's your own brand and everything, great. But I also would make a side note that a lot of money is made in small businesses and franchising. And so don't always think that you need to go out and create something on your own just to like say it's your own. Like if the goal is to have passive income and to make a lot of money, look into Crumble Cookies, look into like all these different franchising opportunities, Coconut as well, of course, but look into all these different opportunities where you can accelerate the rate at which you succeed and have the highest probability of success.
Well, that's why I say like franchises or mentors, like that's why it's so important, is because, these guys today, how do you contact an influencer?
Yeah.
We had that whole not only did we have how to contact them, but we had all the content to contact them, how to go about it, how to reach them out, the best messages, because we had 6 years of trial and error. And that's why a lot of companies fail at the beginning, is because like they're overwhelmed with every little, what uniform should we wear, what truck should we buy, what packages should we have. That's what took us 3 years to perfect. And day one of a franchise is like, here you go, like that's it. And that's why you have success. But that's why a lot of people get eaten up at the beginning, because they're trying to be the technician, they're trying to be the office, they're trying to make their packages, they're trying to order their uniforms, they're, buy the right truck, look good. And then on top of it, it's like they're trying to maintain what they wanted as far as their image and their culture and their systems and processes. And it's tough, man.
Yeah. Bottom line, you can't get 6 figures until you start your business. And then once you start your business, use all the tried and true principles that is just available online for people that have done it before you, and just work really, really, really hard and wear a cup.